Hi, week 5, ethics and social media. Oh, and I have to, there's Betty. She's hanging out with me. And then Sadie's over there. So, welcome. I hope that the class has been going well. I hope that you find that the pace has been okay with you. You're keeping up with your social media posts and you're doing your weekly writings on the content topic of the week. And again, this week, week 5 of 8 is ethics. I say this all the time in my classes. Be a good person, be a good guy, be a good gal. Being a communicator, you have a big responsibility, especially now in the digital age. I mean, you always have been, but even more so today. You know, uh, it's more than just being nice and not being bullying. I mean, when you think of ethics now, 20 to 25 years later, with all the different types of social and digital media that we have now, I mean, it's crazy. So there's a lot of different, I would say, genres of ethics, and how do you work with ethics within digital media and social media. And the first one is privacy. Data security. That is huge today. Have you ever been hacked? Has anyone ever stolen your credit card information, online? Have you ever gotten a notification from Apple or Droider that some of your passwords have been compromised? That is a true, real thing, and that happens. As a user, you have control over your data, and I tell people all the time, 1Password. I always talk about this app. I love this app. This app is easy. It uses 7-bit encryption to encrypt, your different passwords, and you only have to remember one password. It's a big deal. So you should think about, especially if you're in e-commerce. Many people sell things on, the interwebs, social media now. Think about how that data is being used. Think about how you're capturing. Oh, hello, Betty. She just happened to sit down here. Uh, think about how everything works, behind the scenes, and make sure that you're not opening yourself or your organization or your company to being liable, to having, somebody's information become stolen. One of the biggest things today, and this has happened within the political landscape of the last decade, is fake news. Fake news, spreading misinformation. Where do you go? How do you get there? Our politicians and politics in general, are they being, unbiased? Are they being ethical on each different platform? I'm sitting here reading my notes. So, as we've seen, there's major influence within social media, digital media, within the spread of misinformation and fake news, especially within the political realm. And just now that we're getting farther down the road in artificial intelligence and AI, deep fakes is what they call them. And in the beginning, when I thought, okay, ethics and social media, to me it was just cyberbullying. I remember the first time that I think it was 2011 on Twitter, and somebody started getting on me about an event that my show was sponsoring at the time, Do It Indie, and saying how it was bad and that was at the zoo and zoo mistreats animals, and man, I mean, they really got on me. And then they got other people to get on me. So I was cyberbullied. I didn't even know what that was back then, but I remember the feeling. I was like, dude, all these people online, just came after me. And that was the first time I had ever experienced anything like that. And I really haven't experienced that a lot, but, it's not fun. And online harassment, cyberbullying, we know now in the real world that this has consequences. And it shouldn't happen, especially within our younger generations. So you have to have ethical guidelines that prioritize, how your platforms are used, what people can say, what type of verbiage they can have, and you should always, if you have an interactive platform like that, and even all social media platforms, they now have clear policies, like really distinctive policies against what is cyberbullying or online harassment, to protect people today. So ethics, oh man, and this is a good one, and I love this. Algorithmic bias and filters, keyword stuffing. That's a true thing. That's a real thing. There are, keyword farms, keystroke farms, clickbait farms, click farms, that are out there, and you can use those. It's crazy, but really, when this happens, and then it messes up a bias within a filter, within an algorithm, okay, it really creates bias against people themselves. And we see that on social media with advertising, with the types of content that is promoted to people itself. So one that I'm a big fan of, and it's just, man, I've always loved this, is digital well-being. Taking a break. I didn't do this for the longest time, and I was stuck. I worked in social media for almost a decade, like full time, and I would always have my cellular iPad with me in case something happened or I had to respond. It was just, we were always there. You have to take a break. If you work in social media, you have to take a break too. That's just huge. Sometimes I would get, like just negative comments, messages, and that happens even more now. So within all of this, you need to take a break as social media people, and we need to watch the digital well-being and mental health of our youngest generations coming up using these platforms. There's a distinctive rule why you have to be 13 years old or older, basically, to use social digital media. The last thing, too, is just cultural diversity, cultural sensitivity. We should always promote inclusivity, diversity, and make all users feel welcome. Make all users feel welcome, make them know that there are communities, there are groups there for them, and what are those groups? Some of those groups are good groups. Some of those groups are not so good groups. And so again, what's the ethics behind that? How are those monitored? How do people use those? It's absolutely crazy to me, the amount of hate that is online now, the amount of misinformation that is online now. I think I read, what did I read? It said something like 30% of the American public every day gets viewed or just gets pushed some type of misinformation in an ad form or just as you're scrolling through a feed. And that's crazy to me. 30%, over a quarter of our population. So think about that. Think about what is on the news feeds. Does it appeal to everyone? Is it being, inclusive? That's a big deal. So overall, this is where I'm going to end. You see, it's not just cyberbullying or hate. It's misinformation. It's, like algorithmic bias, because of people. It's mental health. All this comes together into social media, digital media. And how is that possible? It's amazing to me how the landscape has changed within just 2 decades. It's wild. So think about that. And think about, as you become a communication, or if you already are a social media professional, digital media professional, always take that ethical point into consideration. Be a better person. Be a better communicator because of it. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week. Bye.